when I get an idea and it's kind of, especially when I start to experiment with that idea and I get different results and see different things happen, that gives me a certain kind of kick. So that's interesting. Now, doesn't mean it's I have to show it to anybody else or I have to see it. It's just that it gives me that kind of feeling of, oh, I can do this, or this is working, and that's what art means to me. It's a bit like, I don't know, it's part of me. It's part of who I am. My name is Kevin Ryan. I'm a visual artist here based in Wexford. Lately, most of my work has centered around drawing and experimental filmmaking. But previous to that, I suppose I did a lot of community-based work. I was on the Creative Communities panel with Wexford County Council. I work with different communities around Wexford County. But then I think as I got older, and then I had a serious heart attack there years ago, and that kind of changed my focus. Maybe realized my work became more personal and process-led, where I used drawing as a way of, I suppose, as a way of kind of looking at myself and my own. Because when I had the heart attack, I realized I was not invincible. And you start thinking about, your own health, your own body, your own, I suppose, personal stuff. So the drawings became very much about me and how I recover from the heart attack and how I deal with, my life from now on. And it started out as almost like a meditative way of kind of dealing with stuff. And then COVID happened. So I was in that space where I had all this time on my hands. And I think it allowed me to explore stuff that I probably would never have done before. So, and the drawings became more complicated, became bigger. And then I started experimenting with film. I would stick a camera out in my back garden and let it just run and just film nature. I would put sheets of paper at the back and film and then I would see how the sun goes over the paper, the light and shadow. And I would do things like expanded drawing, where I would take this string and just wrap it around things out the back, and put paper with it and all this kind of stuff. So it's free. The process freed my way of thinking about making art. I was working as a painter and decorator in Holland for a long time. Came back to Ireland, got married, settled down. But I was also working at doing a lot of murals as well, just to make money. We bought a house in East Wall, and it was paid a mortgage. And then there was I was working in the community centre in Ringsend, in Pearse Street, and I used to work with this youth group, and they used to want plays, and I would do the backdrops for the plays, the images for the backdrops. So we moved to Wexford. We were quite happy living in Wexford. And then I heard that the art college, Carlow was set up an art college, the third level art college in Gorey. So I said, well, okay, this is my opportunity. So I decided I'm going to go back to art college. So I studied fine art in Gorey and then in Wexford. And then I went on to Dún Laoghaire to do an MA in visual art practice. So that's where I studied. And then when I was in art college, I realized that, that just making art or making objects was okay. It's part of art, but I didn't see the be all and end of art. So when myself and Andy Kenny and Fergus Stiles set up Studio Lions, I said this is an interesting thing, as an art practice thing to do as well. I was quite happy with it, quite happy doing it. But then I suppose again you feel like okay, after a while it does realize, well, what am I getting out of this besides just looking after other artists? So that's what I decided. We went that far that I got into community-based art practice a lot. I did make art for myself, but it was more like I just did it my part-time. But the community-based art was stuff I was doing. I had a triple bypass, so in recovery I was in Wexford town, and eventually, as I recovered, I was able to kind of get out of my bed and actually kind of. But during the recovery, because of the drugs you're taking, I found myself losing concentration quite easily. I'd be having a conversation with somebody, and my mind would just drift. And before I know, couldn't remember even where it said. So drawing allowed me to actually do that, for my own self. So I was drawing stuff in my own back garden, blind drawing, and so I didn't have to worry about what the drawing looked like. It was all about me. It was all about me trying to kind of work on my concentration. And then myself and my wife stayed in Glendalough. They have these kind of stone huts. I think they were built by the priests for retreats, but they're open to the public. So basically it's a small stone house. There's a fire, there's a bed, and that's it. And we stayed there for a weekend. During November, it was lashing rain, but we went for these long walks into the woods in Glendalough. And during those walks, I was just looking at the trees, the bare trees, and something about them just caught my imagination, or I was just drawn to them. So I started taking photographs, tons of photographs. And then when I got back home, I would look at the photographs. I said, these would make interesting ways of kind of just drawing from these photographs, not worrying how they turned out. And I started because of I still wasn't fully recovered. So physically, it wasn't that strong. So I sat down and drew on A4 sheets of paper, just like that blind drawing. Just I have a photograph there, and just off I go. I do it all in probably one go, and see what happened. And I liked the results, and then I said, as I got better, I said, actually, I can draw them bigger. So what I would do was do 4 of these little drawings, and then I would transfer them onto a larger sheet of paper. And then the drawings got bigger and more complicated, because then I would start mixing the images and overlapping the images. And this idea of, repleting images, because the other thing that I was thinking about, it was also about getting older. And as you get older, you lose some of your, I know my eyesight was done. My memory was, not as good as it used to be. So all these things came into play when I was doing these drawings. Some are more complicated than others. Some, I have a general idea by looking at the original image of the photograph, or a combination of photographs that would use photographs maybe to kind of, Photoshop to kind of, match or kind of join two photographs together or fit them or whatever. And I'd see, well, that looks like an interesting image to be able to draw and then to transfer. And so I have a general idea of what I wanted to kind of achieve with the drawing before I started. Now, that does change as the drawing kind of develops. But I do know, I kind of okay, where I want to get. So in a way that I have a kind of process where I'd say, okay, I'd see when it's finished, because it's already in my head. I knew when I was making art, it's nice to have a career in art, but it wasn't my main goal. I went to art school because I liked making art, and I thought it might be good for my mental and emotional frame of mind. And it is. And I think that's what art does to me. I've realized now, again, and that the reason why I make art is for my own personal well-being, in a way. The process freed my way of thinking about making art. completely from what I usually do. Usually the process wasn't that important. If something, if it was a mural, you knew exactly how it was going to turn out, how you're going to do it. If you're working with people, they kind of led the actual work. You were just a facilitator, where this is all about me. It was all about my own ideas and how to express them and how to develop them. So that's what I've been doing now for the last 6 years. And I suppose it's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my art